295 days ago, I quit drinking alcohol. I didn't quit because I hit rock bottom. I quit because I wanted to have a better retirement. I knew I was in trouble. I knew I had to change. So I got up the courage and I made this switch. Now, I started drinking Budweiser at the age of 14 years old. And that was at the suggestion of my dad. Not really a suggestion, but we had a country home in New Paltz, New York. It was 80 miles away from where we lived in Mamaroneck, New York. And we would go up there. We had a cabin. We had acreage where we could hunt. We were up against some private land where we could hunt for deer and be in the woods. And I was a Boy Scout at the time. We used to bring the scouting troops up there. But when I was there with my dad and my brother and myself and a couple of my dad's buddies on the weekend, cutting firewood, doing work around the house. You know, back then we only had an outhouse. There wasn't even running water. It was an outdoor shower. So we were making all these improvements to the house. So we would work really hard and we get sweaty and tired. But my dad always, near the end of the day, said it's time to have a beverage, an adult beverage. So he'd have whatever he had, vodka tonic or a beer. And over time, he got comfortable encouraging my brother and I by saying, hey, you guys want to have a beer? You know, I think you're old enough. I started drinking when I was 14. So maybe not the best advice, maybe not the best way to be a dad at the moment with a 14-year-old. But I loved my father, and I loved for everything he did, and I still love him today, even though he's been gone for probably 10 years. He did the best he could do with what he knew. So there I am, 14 years old, starting to drink beer. And that just continued on for the rest of my life, all through high school, college, my first marriage of 25 years, all the way up until January 1st of this year. And I started to think back, and I did have a couple of moments where I quit for 6 months, for a year, dry January and all of that. But I realized that I needed to make this pivot. I'm 68 years old. And I can't handle alcohol like I used to. So I decided to quit. And I quit January 1st of this year, 295 days ago. And I have to tell you, it's made the most amazing difference in my life. I have more energy. So when I get up in the morning now, I'm ready to go. I used to get up in the morning with a hangover and wonder how many Advil do I need to get through the day or the morning. There was a time once when I actually got up one morning and I was so damn hungover, and I worked for my dad at the time. I'm probably 32 years old. It was a Tuesday morning. I had the worst hangover ever. And my dad had this thing about work hard, play hard, take care of those less fortunate. The work hard part was important. So I'd have to get to the office before he did. So that was 7 a.m., start the coffee. He'd come in, and I remember this morning, I had a suit on, I had my briefcase, and he said, what are you up to today? I said, I'm going to leave here around 8:30. I've got a whole bunch of appointments in North Jersey. It's kind of a long drive. I need to get going soon to get there. Okay, well, have a good morning. I'll see you later. I went home. I got in the car. I drove home 10 minutes away and went to sleep. Now, I feel terrible that I lied to my father. I feel terrible that I was hiding that I had a drinking problem. I feel terrible that I had to behave that way. It didn't set a good example for my wife, but I had to go home and go back to bed. So now there's no more hangovers. I get up in the morning, I do my morning routine, I drink my water, I read my scripture, I do my journaling, I head out to the gym. There was no way I was going to go to the gym with a hangover. So it was a big change for me to all of a sudden realize since January of this year that I had this whole new lease on life. So that's the first thing. It's given me a tremendous amount of energy and clarity throughout my day. The second thing that I've noticed is that when I do go to the gym now, that I'm not drinking and I'm eating right and I'm getting good sleep, my workouts are so much stronger. I can really focus in on doing the right kind of form, feeling my muscles stretched, listening to the coach on all of the moves I need to do, versus back when I was drinking, I just went to the gym and I tried to get through the workout. I'd get on a treadmill and it was too hard, so I'd stop, maybe a Stairmaster or one of those other ellipticals. But now I'm very focused on building muscle. I'm 68 years old. Two things all of these doctors are saying now. Number one, we need to build muscle at this age, really any age. And number two, eat the right amount of protein so you can build muscle. So here I am now at 68 years old, and I love the gym. I love the new workouts. I love feeling sore the day after. So I work out 5 mornings a week now at this gym called Get Cat Fit on Marco Island in Florida. And in the summer, it's Great Bay Fitness and Tennis up in New Jersey. So I have 2 gyms, 2 communities of people, and I love how I feel. I love getting up and seeing my friends. I'm inspired to go, and I force myself to go because I'm creating relationships with these people. So this whole idea of being sober and being clear and having energy and really working out is another reason why I love being sober. All right, the third thing that I found is my focus. I would wake up with a brain fog. Now, I'm not saying that you should stop drinking. What I'm saying here on this video is listen to what I'm going through, apply some of that to your own life, and see if it makes sense. So the third thing, sharper focus. I used to get up in the morning in a fog. It was just incredibly normal. Let's just say that. That was my normal. I laugh now because I think back and I say, what was it really like back then? Well, again, if I'm having a rough night, when I say rough night, I mean I'm drinking a lot. I realize I need to, get to bed 11 or 12 because I got to get up at 6 to go to work. And I would drink 3 glasses of water. Then I would have 2 Advil, hoping I don't wake up with a headache. The 3 glasses of water would help dilute the alcohol that was in my body. And then I would get up in the middle of the night to have to go to the bathroom, but I'd have a throbbing headache. And I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? And I have 2 cups of black coffee, more water, more Advil. I wasn't sharp. I don't even know how I got through the day back then when I was drinking as much as I was drinking. I don't know how I did it, but that was my normal. Jody and I would come home from work. We'd open a bottle of white wine. We'd cook dinner. We'd have a bottle of red wine with dinner. That was normal. That's what we did. We don't anymore. I don't drink anymore. And I'm fine with that. And I haven't joined AA. And if you're watching this video and you're really concerned about your drinking and you're having trouble quitting, Alcoholics Anonymous is a great place to try. I'm sure there are friends in your circle that are sober and they go to meetings. Try a meeting. They have you can just walk into any AA meeting. They're typically in a public place like a church or you can go online and find the local AA meetings and just walk in, and it's welcoming, it's open. So don't think that you can't get help. And if you do need help, you definitely want to try. But this thing with clarity for me now, my new normal is to go to bed at 8:30 or 9. I haven't had anything to drink. I won't have any water anymore past 7:30 at night because I don't want to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. But I sleep from 9 until 4 pretty much every night. And I wake up sharp and focused and excited. It's a big difference to me. That's my new normal. I couldn't imagine going back to the old ways. So that's another benefit of not having alcohol. The fourth thing that I've noticed since I stopped drinking 295 days ago is I'm now able to make much deeper connections with my family and my friends. When I think back on the number of times that I made what I would call big life mistakes, it always revolved around alcohol. Every single time. A half dozen near-death experiences while drinking, driving at night, running off the road on the way home from college, waking up with a rumble and nearly running into a pylon. I was driving home from working at the pub at University of Hartford. We'd stay after cleanup and then drink a ton of beer for free. So 2 o'clock in the morning, driving home to Simsbury, Connecticut, I fell asleep. The next thing I know, I hear this big bang, and I open my eyes, and my car is actually in the air, airborne. It lands, comes to a screeching halt inside of a snowbank. And I'm like, what the hell was that? Well, I had fallen asleep on Hop Meadow Street, and there was a gas station on the right, and they had a pile of snow in front of it where they had plowed it. I actually drifted off to the right, hit that snowbank, flew into the air, right over the snowbank, landed. I was about a half a mile from the house. I backed up. There's steam come from under the hood. The car was making all kinds of noise. The fan belts were making a mess. I finally was able to limp home, back the car into the driveway. And I remember in the morning hearing my friends wake up. Oh, my God, look what happened to Mark's car. Oh, my God, it looks like he had an accident. Could have died. I mean, there were so many moments like that. So now I've got space. I have time. I have focus that I can go deep with my relationship with Jody because I'm always sober. I can go deep on my relationships with my kids. I can go deeper on my relationships with my friends. I can easily go out and meet new friends because I'm clear and I know what's important to me and I know relationships are important and I can be the best friend ever. I can always show up because I'm always in good shape. I'm always clear, thoughtful, kind. I just try to be that kind of person. But when alcohol was in my life, I couldn't do that. It was so sporadic. So that's another reason or a benefit of not drinking in my retirement at the age of 68. Another benefit for me has been my spiritual journey. You know, I stopped drinking 295 days ago. I also began a spiritual journey 295 days ago. Just happened to coincide with each other. Now, I've always gone to church as a kid, Sunday school. I was in the choir, went to the Mamaroneck Methodist Church. Then I got married and ended up in a Presbyterian church. Had my kids come through Sunday school. We did youth group. There was always drinking involved. I never met a larger group of drinkers than Presbyterians, and there's some Presbyterian jokes about that. But that was all part of the church community, was drinking. It's really a large part of society, drinking. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute because that's where I struggled trying to make this transition. But my spiritual journey since January, 295 days ago, has been phenomenal. And while I've always been involved in a church and I've always been involved in a church community, I've always believed in God, it's different now. It's at a much different level. It's at a more meaningful level. And because I'm sober all the time, I have this clear mind. I'm making friends, and I'm understanding there's something bigger than me. I'm starting to understand that there's something bigger than me, beyond my needs, beyond my life, beyond the life of even Jody and I and our kids. I think it's important to have some kind of spiritual journey in your life, whatever it is. Even if you're an atheist, that's a journey. But ask yourself questions. Is there a God? If there is, what does that mean? What does life look like when I'm gone? After my last breath, what happens? Do I just, ashes to ashes, dust to dust? There's so much to learn about a spiritual journey, and thinking of whether it's the universe for you or God or Jesus Christ, whatever it is that is your thing, when you're sober, you now have space for that. You get to think and wonder and ask questions and be curious and not have this foggy attitude because you're always drinking or hungover. So for me, it's been the most amazing part of my sobriety. And I haven't had a drink in 295 days. I truly believe I'm never going to drink again. I mean, I've stopped enough times over the last 30 years that I know why I started again. Because I would say, oh my gosh, look at the wine on the table. I really want to have a taste of that. I have no interest. I just have no interest. And I think the big thing for me, and I made some notes this morning, but this just came to mind, is I started to pay attention to how my body felt. So 295 days ago, I woke up with a hangover. I was groggy. I didn't feel right. And I said, you know what? I'm not drinking tonight because I don't want to have a hangover. And that thinking process just continued through. I started to sleep better. I started to have better doctor visits. My cholesterol came down. I started to eat differently. When you can start to actually pay attention to your body and how it feels when you introduce alcohol, That's when you start to say, is this really good for me? And the other thing that just came to my mind is, for the life of me, I cannot find one article, one scientific study, one person who says putting alcohol in your body is good for you. Now, there are the people that say, it relaxes you, it numbs you, it calms you down. It's delicious to drink. There are a lot of doctors that say one drink a day is okay. It's better than no alcohol. I haven't seen any studies to that effect. It's just a doctor stating what they think. But I'll tell you what, I can find study after study after study, research paper, surveys that show how bad alcohol is for your body. It's a poison. And again, I'm not saying you have to stop drinking. I'm not saying that. You do what works for you. I'm telling you what I did and how I feel and why I did it and how it's helping me. So I don't see any proof that it makes sense to keep drinking. So that's another reason for me to stop. So has this been easy? No. So there's challenges. First of all, Jody still drinks, which is fine. We went out to dinner last night. She had 2 glasses of wine. I had none. And I'm fine with that. We have 6 kids. They all have a partner. There's 12 people. They all drink. When we get together for Thanksgiving or the holidays or a long weekend, when they're around, I go out and I buy the beers and I buy the wine and I put it in the cooler. I do my job to make sure they're having a good time. But that's hard at first, right? So can I actually pour someone a glass of wine without thinking I should try it? Yeah, but I've gotten there. I wasn't there in the beginning, but social situations with family, social situations with friends, going to big parties where there's always a lot of alcohol, it's hard. It was harder at first. It's easier now. But the other thing that seems to have happened with society, which is great, there's this huge influx now of non-alcoholic beverages. Beer, for instance. There's probably more non-alcoholic beers than there are regular beers with alcohol in it. And I know that's not true, but it feels like it. I go to a restaurant now and they have Heineken Zero, they have Peronis, they've got Athletica's a big brand a lot of people like. In the years gone by, decades ago, when I quit drinking for a year at a time or 6 months, O'Doul's was the only non-alcoholic beer. But now everybody has one. So like last night, I happened to have 2 Heineken Zeros while Jody had her 2 wines. Not because I think I need to drink because she is, but it feels good to have a cocktail. We were out alone. It was date night, so I had a non-alcoholic beer. But social situations are hard, and they create stress and anxiety sometimes. Our children are all drinking less because they're realizing it's better for them. So there's a movement in society to be more acceptable of not drinking. So people that have parties now do a better job of having non-alcoholic beverages. And I'll tell you, when I go to a wedding or an event like that and they don't have, or a networking function and they don't have non-alcoholic beer, I search out for the manager of the facility. I said, this is ridiculous. You've got people in here who have a significant drinking problem, who probably go to AA meetings once or twice a day, and they're here because they want to be here, but you've got to give them some non-alcoholic choices. Just have to do that. So I've found that has been a struggle for sure. The other struggle I've had is triggers. So when I'm having a rough day, I used to always go to a glass of wine. It's just what we all do. Oh my God, I need a drink. I need to relax. I need to calm down. So these stress triggers that exist in my life now, and I had a really rough day yesterday, actually. I ended up having a pretty difficult time with Jody. We had an argument and a disagreement. 100%, it was typically when I'd go have a drink, a vodka tonic, gin and tonic, glass of wine. These triggers now I have found through meditation, spirituality, going to the gym, not drinking, getting good sleep, it doesn't trigger a need for alcohol anymore. But it used to. In the beginning, it did. And I watch other people, and you hear discussions where they say, oh my God, I had the worst day ever. I got to have a drink. Okay, that's cool. It's not a trigger for me anymore. So I've found, I don't even know what my new, trying to think when I feel stressed. It's not like I have something else that I fill that stress with. I might meditate. but I don't yearn for a drink. The third struggle I've had is rewriting my identity. I don't go around saying I don't drink. I don't go around saying I quit drinking 295 days ago. I'm telling you that story. And I guess this YouTube video is telling that story. And originally I felt like I don't drink anymore. I don't drink. I'm not, I'm an alcoholic and I don't drink. So my identity now is not tied to having the best kind of wine on the dinner table. I tell people who are coming over, I say, by the way, I don't drink, but why don't you bring your favorite bottle of wine and we'll open it for dinner? So I've changed that. I've kind of said, I let people know I don't drink. When I go to someone's house and I say, well, what can I get you? I said, if you have non-alcoholic beer, that'd be great. Or I'll just have water. I'm fine with that. You sure you don't want to drink? You sure you don't want something? I said, no, I'm good. And a lot of people are like, oh, okay. I get it, I think, or they really don't get it, but some people do. Some people that I know regularly. Now, they know I go to bed at 9 o'clock. They know I don't drink. So when we go out together, they kind of know we're going to go to dinner a little bit earlier. And I'm not going to order a bottle of wine, but they can. It doesn't really matter to me. So I think it's important that as you make this change, you be fluid with who you are, because it's a struggle. And, you don't want to walk, I have a really good friend, John, who he and his wife spend a fair amount of time in bars. They don't have children, and they go out and they love having dinner at the bar. They like to sit on the corner and whatever, and they drink. He quit drinking 295 days ago as well, my friend John. So I actually have a alcohol-free buddy that I get to talk to 3 or 4 times a week to kind of share our stories, to share how well we're doing and what our struggles are. Because, you do need to really rethink who you hang out with. Because if you were a regular person that drank a lot with a group of 20 people that you circled through, and now you don't drink and you're the only one who doesn't drink, it's awkward. And then you have to start to wonder, should I still be hanging out with these people? Maybe I need to hang out with them less because they want to start drinking and having a good time and going till 1 a.m. So you need to figure that out too. And that's hard. It's hard to make that kind of change. By the way, there's a free download in the comments below, Health and Wellness Checklist. That's a really good place to start to think about, am I drinking too much? Am I feeling right? Do I need to see the doctor? So actually, when you start to become sober, you have more time and space for working on your health. So drop below and see the link and get that free download. I think you'll really like it. So let me tell you how I made it work. The first thing is I have grounded myself in a morning routine that's so solid. I get up at 4 o'clock every day. I read 10 minutes of scripture. I meditate for 10 minutes. I do 10, 15 minutes of journaling, have a cup of coffee, and then I go to the gym. That's how I start my day, and that's how I'm able to really keep alcohol out of my life, because I have this morning routine that's now sacred. It's more of a morning ritual, and I've spent 295 days perfecting that. So that is one thing I do to keep myself alcohol-free. The other thing that I have is I have a great support system. Jody, my children, my friends, everyone that I know well, they all know I don't drink anymore. So it's not an issue for them, and they're supportive. And many of them have come to me and have said, I'm starting to realize that I don't do that well with alcohol anymore. So I really want to stop drinking. I wonder if you can help me out with that. So having a really good support system helps. So I've got my morning ritual, a support system. The third thing that I have is anchoring myself to a bigger why. Why am I on this planet? What am I supposed to do? What's my purpose? What's my passion? What am I doing to make the world a better place? And frankly, a lot of it is this YouTube channel. So connecting yourself to a bigger purpose than just yourself makes a huge difference in your life. So let me give you a couple questions my team put together. Hi, I'm John. I'm 63. I've thought about taking a break from alcohol, but worry I'll miss out socially. How did you handle that? Well, I talked about that in this video. It's hard at first, because, God, I think back the days, when I'm 30, 40, 50 years old, drinking was a big part of my life. And I was fun. And when you drink, you loosen up and you say funny things and all of that. But for me, I realized I said things that got me in trouble too. So you just have to take it slow. You've got to work on yourself. You have to do this for you. You have to do this for your relationships. Do it for your children, your friends. And when you start to do that and realize you're doing this to make your life better and the life of those that interact with you, then I think it becomes easier. But you do have to make some decisions. Are these people I really want to continue to hang out with? And that's a hard call. Okay. Hi, I'm Rick. I'm 70. I'm retired and bored. How did quitting drinking change your routine? Well, I think I covered that. So I never really drank at lunch. I would have a beer after golf maybe, but my dad, who was an alcoholic, he drank near the end at 24/7. That's the other thing I haven't talked about on this video, but my father was an alcoholic, and that had a big impact on me realizing I didn't want to end up like that, and that's what actually killed him. But what was the question? Tired and bored, how to quit drinking, change your routine. Well, I had a bit of the routine I just mentioned, but in January, I think really the spiritual component, when I brought that in, that really helped me think and wonder about something bigger, believing in God, the universe, whatever it is for you. And that became more important than the drinking. And the drinking became less and less and less important. So having a really good morning ritual is great. You don't have to get up at 4 o'clock, but you have to get up the same time every day, and you have to allow yourself 30 to 45 minutes to really start to build out this ritual. It'll make a huge difference in your life. Okay, this is Nancy. I'm 55, so she's a little bit younger. Did you notice any pushback from friends when you stopped drinking? Yeah, a lot. Like, why are you making our life difficult by you not drinking? What do you mean you're not going to have a beer? What do you mean you're not having wine? You love wine. You've always loved wine. You've loved wine for 30 years. And I say, yeah, I used to love wine. I don't love it anymore. There's nothing about wine that I like anymore. So yeah, listen, there are some people that are not in my life anymore because I don't drink and they still do. And that's hard. Hope you like this video. This next one, give me 15 minutes and I'll save you 6 years of a miserable retirement. Watch this one next.